Good morning. Today we are correcting PO55. That is the day that I was gone and we had a sub. You watched the video, so I wasn't here to answer questions. So make sure if you're at home watching this or if you're in the classroom that you ask those questions that you might have as we correct. So PO55 was I can solve for an unknown angle in a triangle or a quadrilateral. So we know all the angles of the triangle equal 180 degrees. A quadrilateral has 4 sides, and that we can cut in half to make 2 triangles. So it would be 360 degrees. So anytime it's a triangle, angles equal 180. Anytime it's a 4-sided figure, a quadrilateral, it's going to equal 360 degrees. So we needed to use what we know about angles and about those supplementary and complementary angles to be able to solve for an unknown angle. On the bottom, we had 40 and 35 degrees. The missing angle measurement to equal 180 would be 105 degrees. For this quadrilateral, it would be 20 degrees. For the bottom one, it would be 17 degrees and 35 degrees. So you take that 180 or you take that 360 and you subtract out what you know, and you look at what you're left with for the missing angles. Any questions on those bottom angles? All right, let's look at our second page. This one, we had 3 congruent sides, so that means it's equiangular, so it needs to be, equilateral, so it needs to be equiangular. One thing I do want to point out is you don't put the missing degrees on a side. It has to go in for the angle. It is not a side measurement. So you don't want to put that 60 degrees by that congruent mark. It needs to go in for the angle. If you're finding missing angles, that angle measurement goes in for the angle. So they should all 3 be labeled as 60 degrees. Here we had 2 angles that equaled 200, and then we can see the congruent marks. Those congruent marks means they are the same number. So 360 minus 200 was 160, and then we just had to divide it by 2 to see what the missing angles were. So they should both read as 80 degrees. Any questions on either of those? Down here, we had a supplementary angle measurement. So we had to find the inside angle for that triangle. So we had to do a little bit of more work to get that inside angle of 40 degrees. And then we could subtract the 75 and the 40 from 180. And our missing angle was 65. Over here, we had to do that for both of these supplementary angles to find 50 and 75 degrees. Subtract that from 180, and we get 55 degrees. So you have to use what you know to be able to find that missing angle measurement. Any questions on these 4? On the test, you will have to do things like this. It's not going to always be that simple. This angle's 30, this angle's 60, what's the missing angle? You're going to have to do a little more work to show that you know how to use the information that we know. On the bottom, it is review. So, complementary angles. You needed to have drawn 2 angles with measurements that equal 90 degrees. An isosceles triangle, you needed to show 2 sides were the same. You could use it with the congruent marks, or you could use it with numbers. If you're using numbers, you need to give numbers to all 3 sides. So 8, 8, and 5, showing that you know the bottom one would be a different measurement. Vertical angles, you draw your X. The opposite angles are congruent. And those supplementary angles equal 180 degrees. So if your supplementary angles don't equal 180, it will be wrong. So we have to remember those vertical angles, opposite angles are the congruent ones. but we have to make sure that they equal that 180. Corresponding angles. What you have in the top line needs to be identical to the bottom line. Keeping in mind this, it should look like vertical angles where they are congruent. They are equal to 180 degrees if they're supplementary. And you should be able to pick one line up and place it directly on top of the other line, and the measurements are in the same place. A scalene triangle, you needed to have labeled all sides a different measurement. A right angle should have that square in the middle and look like it is 90 degrees. An acute triangle, you should have 3 angles that I didn't actually label them. They should have been labeled. So 3 angles that are equal to 180 degrees. So I could have done that 40, 75, and 65. Whatever 3 measurements you picked, they had to be acute, and they have to have a total of 180 degrees. Supplementary angles, you add them together, they equal 180 degrees. An obtuse triangle, we could have something like 130 degrees, 20 degrees, and 30 degrees. All 3 angles equal that 100, or sorry, all 3 angles equal 180 degrees, and one of them is obtuse, bigger than 90. Any questions on our review? Feeling confident and comfortable with this? All right. If you are watching this at home, if you have any questions, make sure you come see me about them. Have a wonderful day.